with a delivery to Draymond Green.
It is hard to win in the NBA without having a good point guard. The league has been dominated by guards and smaller players in recent years, with players like Stephen Curry, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook being crucial to the success of their teams. Some of the most hyped prospects coming into the league these days, like LaMelo Ball, are guards with flashy passing skills in addition to the ability to score the ball. In this video, we'll dive into the top NBA point guards for 2021.
But first, a simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's all your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple.
Stephen Curry. You won't see a list of the top point guards in the NBA without seeing Steph Curry's name on it. Curry's not only the face of the Dynasty-era Golden State Warriors, but one of the highest-paid point guards in the league as a whole. And that's for good reason. Curry's often considered the best shooter of all time, and his numbers haven't fallen off yet even as he gets into his 30s. His 2019 season was thrown off with injury, and the wheels fell off for the Warriors around that time as a franchise. But Curry's been back to his usual standards so far and has even overperformed slightly compared to the past couple seasons before his injury. That's shown in his scoring average that he's hovering around 28 points per game, higher than any of his seasons since 2015-2016 when he was the points per game leader for the league in general. Combined with 6 assists and 5 rebounds per game, Steph is putting in an all-around effort for the Warriors that will play a big part in keeping them afloat this season. The slightly higher scoring makes sense for that reason too. The Warriors have been a bad team since losing Kevin Durant, a really bad team. They ended up picking number 2 overall in the draft after finishing as one of the bottom feeders in the league, and the Warriors right now are on the ropes with a record that's hovering close to .5 and isn't the kind of start that would have been expected from them during their dynasty seasons. But this is a very different team than any of their dynasty teams, and the main goal for the Warriors is to try to get into the playoffs and get back some of their old magic. Expect Steph Curry to play a big part in that goal of theirs, and this higher pressure should force him to play like the best point guard in the league this season, especially now that there's no Kevin Durant to contribute in scoring and creating openings for teammates on the Warriors. And with Klay Thompson rehabbing from a preseason injury that was sustained before he played a single game, the lead really does fall on Curry's shoulders this time. Luka Doncic. Steph Curry, LeBron James, and James Harden are examples of the current stars in the NBA. But if you want to have a look at the player that will dominate jersey sales and wins on the court in the future, you have to look to Dallas and to Luka Doncic. So far in his 3rd season, the European wonder kid has still been exceptional. He's scoring just about as much as Curry is and might pass him in points per game by the end of the year, but hasn't forgotten about his teammates as he also has over 9 assists per game at this early point in the season. And while Doncic is a guard, he's rebounding about as much as a forward. There are a lot of players in the league that could feasibly average a triple-double. Russell Westbrook is the only one to pull the feat off more than one time in his career. Russ was able to pull that accomplishment off back to back to back. But it's safe to say he's less equipped to do it again in the future than Doncic is. People like to say that Doncic isn't as athletic as the star players in the NBA, and that his success comes through exceptional basketball IQ and smarts on the court, as well as finely honed technique. While that is a little true, it's discounting his game to just say that he isn't athletic. He's proven through his drives to the paint and beating other players with speed after catching them in an exposed position that he can have his athletic moments too, and that he's better than just being some spot-up shooter who can only hit open looks. Expect Doncic to be at the top of these rankings at some point. For now, he'll sit at the number 2 spot as possibly the most important player to keep an eye on over the following months and years, and that's for the league as a whole, not just the one position of point guard. Russell Westbrook. We mentioned Russell Westbrook earlier and how he's one of the only players in the history of the NBA to average a triple-double. He's also the only one to do it more than one time in his career. His numbers aren't quite looking like that right now, but that doesn't mean he's not one of the top guards in the league. Westbrook had a career-worst playoff performance last time out with Houston, but that's not necessarily a sign his career as a whole is going to tank in the coming seasons. While Westbrook wasn't as good in Houston as he was with the Thunder, much of that stems from internal locker room problems with co-star James Harden and the overall failed plan for the Rockets to make it work with both players. Not only is it hard to have 2 scoring point guards on the court at the same time and not have problems come up from that, but the franchise had a culture clash, as Westbrook wanted more accountability and Harden wanted the freedom to do things his own way and not show up for meetings and the like on a strict schedule. In the end, that Rockets team was blown up, and Westbrook ended up sent to the Wizards. There's no baggage in Washington like there was in Houston, and it's safe to say Washington is a better spot for Russ to show out with his individual skills compared to Houston, where everything had to be balanced with another superstar. Westbrook hasn't quite earned this spot yet based on his numbers so far this season, but he's only played in 7 games and it shouldn't be surprising if his numbers skyrocket after playing a full season and getting used to how things are with the new franchise. Additionally, Bradley Beal should be a far easier player to work with than Harden when it comes to the locker room and on the court chemistry. Damian Lillard. If you ask any Trailblazers fan about the best point guard in the league, most of them will say that it's Damian Lillard. Many fans of the Blazers believe Lillard is criminally underrated when you compare him with others around the league like the aforementioned Curry and Westbrook. Indeed, there's hardly ever a game between the Blazers and the Warriors where the two aren't compared directly against each other in scoring. Even their careers have some overlap with one another, with both being selected by a team that's seen better days and becoming a crucial part of that team's effort as both their point guard and the face of the franchise. But Lillard is his own man, and he'll be the first one to tell you not to write him off as just being a different version of Steph Curry. While Curry was sitting out most of last season due to injury, and the shortened year that saw the Warriors not end up in the bubble, Lillard was scoring 30 points per game with the Blazers and contributing 8 assists per game on top of that. His numbers aren't quite that high so far this year, but they're a sign that you shouldn't underestimate him. He is capable of putting up stats that you'd expect from a player with superstar status. If Lillard was playing for a franchise outside of a small market city like Portland, you can definitely bet that he would be considered a superstar. For now, however, we'll put him at number 4. But coming off his individual performance last year, Lillard's profile could definitely raise this year if the Blazers can do what they haven't been able to do the rest of his career and break through further in the playoffs. James Harden. James Harden is a controversial player, and we already talked about why. He was involved in running Russell Westbrook out of Houston, and he even ended up leaving the Rockets himself, even after they brought in John Wall due to him preferring the former Wizards point guard over Westbrook. For Rockets fans, Harden will leave a bad taste in the mouth. He was the player leading the team when they were in the playoffs every year, and the team had a real superstar, but could never actually break through to defeat teams like Golden State and Los Angeles to reach the finals. However, even with the locker room drama and the accusations of not taking things seriously enough in Houston and then leaving on a whim when the team couldn't become a winner in the playoffs, you have to admit that Harden is one of the most exciting players in the league. And while he won't be playing point guard exclusively with the Nets due to the presence of Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn, you can expect to see the two swap roles regularly instead of the Nets rigidly relying on one player to do the duties of a point guard. While Harden does have to balance his individual performance with playing with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, he should have more of a chance to become a top scorer and playmaker with the Nets compared to the Rockets thanks to the higher overall talent level of the team. We've already seen flashy behind-the-back passes to Irving from Harden even in his earliest appearances with the Nets. Expect to see even more of that, and when you get Durant involved, you have one of the most dynamic offenses in the league. Of course, that all depends on how things work out for the Nets chemistry-wise, and there's no guarantee that will happen. So for now, Harden is the number 5 point guard on the list. At least until we can see if the team situation in Brooklyn with multiple other superstars in the same lineup will end up helping him or holding him back from playing to his full potential.